Kish and Jane. But, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, later on.
Debbie, I don't think anyone can hear audio on their end.
No, we can't.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll share the link after the presentation. And that way you all can see. It was an overview, just talking about what other states are doing. Certainly equity, diversity, inclusion in any workplace includes women. And as we know from a press release by the governor this week, October is highlighted as Manufacturing Month. For those of you who didn't know, manufacturing is 13% of this state's workforce. And it's certainly growing, and we've got some great presentations and some conversations going today. We've got folks from Owensboro Community and Technical College. We've got folks from Gateway Community and Technical College, and we've got folks from Ford Motor Company. And if we get through that, we will open up the floor. But to kick things off, I'd like to introduce our friends at the Owensboro Community and Technical College. Cindy Fiorelli is the Vice President of Workforce and Development there, and she will be talking about one of their programs that they have going on, and then also share with one of the first graduates from there. So with that, Cindy, I'll hand things over to you, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good morning, everybody. It's still morning here in Central Time, or God's country, as we call it. We like Central Time a whole lot better than your all's Eastern Time zone. Our program is known as Go Females, and I have with me today Sherry Plain, who really is the brainchild behind this, as well as Amy Leach, who was a first graduate of our Go Females program. And like most workforce development initiatives, this is an initiative that took a whole lot of team members. I know Michelle Drake is here this morning, and Michelle can talk to you about how our Green River Area Development District was a staunch supporter of the program. But it began with our Go Fame initiative, which is, many of you are familiar with Go Fame and the accelerated path into advanced manufacturing technician program. And like most programs, wildly successful, but we struggle to have participation from women in the program itself. And yet when we walked in production facilities, there are women in every production facility, but where you do not see women is in the advanced manufacturing technician roles, family wage sustaining roles. And we hypothesized, as a National Science Foundation Award winner, that was because women faced many barriers, both in the culture of manufacturing facilities. They faced challenges getting into the technician training that they needed to be in the most highly paid roles within organizations, and that they were balancing many family and personal commitments that just didn't allow them to pursue the kinds of training that it would take to get into those technician responsibilities. So we were able to secure a National Science Foundation grant with this, based on this hypothesis, and strong support from our Economic Development Corporation, our Chambers of Commerce, and our WIOA partners, as well as some funding eventually with the Governor's Discretionary Fund. But I'm going to let Sherry talk to you about the real nuts and bolts of the program. So Sherry, up to you and Amy.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Yes, as Cindy said, we were fortunate enough to get started with some funding through the National Science Foundation, but just as important, our WIOA partners who Cindy mentioned at the time, led by Jody Rafferty and Jill Gray, as well as Michelle Drake, they worked with us to secure some additional funding because the National Science Foundation funding allowed us to actually put together the nuts and bolts of the academic program. But what we found, there was a great need for a mentor, a coach to really work with these employee students through the program. So we were so fortunate to work with them. They helped us secure the funding for that. So our program worked this way. The employer sponsor gave all of their employee students 8 hours of educational release time per week to take classes at the college. We originally started the program before COVID, and we delivered the courses on site in the middle of their production facility. Had COVID not hit, we would have continued that practice, but we were, because of COVID constraints, we did move the program to the college's laboratory, which worked just as well. We had 20 females who began the program. They were employed at UniFirst Corporation in Owensboro, Kentucky. As I said, UniFirst not only gave them the 8 hours of paid educational release time, it was during their work shift. So they didn't have to come before work or after work. They were able to make that part of their work responsibility. And they also supported them other ways as well. There was a mentor on site at the facility. There was a program champion on site. The CEO of the company was 100% behind this and was very vocal about that. So it was a 2-year associate degree program. Out of the 20 who started the first cohort, 15 actually completed all 66 college credits to earn an industrial maintenance technology degree, a diploma, and several certificates. The first group finished in August of 2021. We started another cohort in fall of 2021. They'll graduate this summer. But from that, we learned a lot of lessons about what working women really need to be successful in a training program and education program. And from that, we've been able to build some new initiatives to really serve our workforce, and particularly females. And so we're so fortunate to have Amy Lee Tuttle with us. Amy was one of our premier graduates of the Go Females program, and now she is actually our master instructor for our program, our Go Female program, as well as our new iTech program at OCTC. So I'd like to turn it over to Amy to talk about her experience.
Doing this is an experience. I didn't have the opportunity, being a single mom, or at least I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to go to school. Even with military maintenance experience, I could not get a job doing maintenance for UniFirst Corporation. I guess the credentials don't transfer as well. So having the opportunity to get this degree was life-changing, and I think it's life-changing for a lot of women, or could be. And that's one of the reasons I'm glad I'm one of the instructors here. Change people's lives is a big thing. So I don't know what else.
No, that is very good. So just a quick, to let you know what Amy is doing now. So some of the lessons we learned through the Go Females 2-year associate degree program was that we needed some additional credential opportunities shorter term that would work for both underskilled employees who needed to upskill for a better job within their company, or dislocated workers. And so Amy is one of our heading one of our team for an iTech program that we have, which is industrial technology educational credentials, and it's shorter term certificates that bank into associate degree, but it's meant to get someone, it's a competency-based model that really focuses on the skills that are needed to perform on the job. So there's a lot of the, I guess, redundancy of memorizing math formulas and going over lots of safety in every class that you take. And it really gets down to the nuts and bolts of what you have to learn to perform on the job. So she's leading the instruction for that, for our team, for that project.
And we're getting them some more hands-on, more closely related to what they'll see when they get to industry maintenance. I noticed some of the training that I got didn't quite reach it. We get them more stuff that looks like what they're going to see when they get to industry maintenance, and hopefully when they get there, the training curve won't be quite as long or difficult. So.
I think an important part whenever you're doing initiatives such as this is that all the partners have got to come to the table and look at the model and tweak what's currently on the ground. We had to have our economic development and workforce partners help us engage the employer community. We had to have an employer champion who was willing to look at their production processes and give paid time release for those individuals to participate. The women who participated had tremendous burden on them still, even with the paid release time, 2 mornings a week. The college had to take equipment to the actual facility pre-COVID and do training there. So everybody looked at the kaleidoscope and adjusted their worldview, so to speak, to make this happen, because they couldn't participate on the traditional college semester-long window. They couldn't give, as Sherry said, they couldn't give up their full-time jobs. They couldn't give up their full-time benefits. And the employer had to say, okay, we don't need 15 advanced manufacturing technicians, but we will need managers, and we need people with this college training that will be able to meet our new goals in the area of projected growth there at that facility. So it's an interesting paradigm shift, and it takes a lot of trust and investment on everybody's part, but it works. And we've learned a lot of lessons, and we've benefited from the lessons learned and taught to us from other facilities and other partners across the state. And we're particularly appreciative that people are willing to step up to the plate, look outside and say, okay, we'll try this, and we'll try this together. And we're very fortunate to have been part of the process, and that we're able to move the work forward somewhat. So COVID was a big hullabaloo, but we kept on keeping on thanks to the participants and our company partner and our own internal trainers. And we've been able to really put something on the ground that we think are very proud of. So any questions that Sherry or Amy might be able to answer for anyone?
Maybe
Debbie,
while-
we'll just turn it back to you then.
Thank you. And certainly if anybody has any questions as we continue to discuss and listen to some of the examples, the life examples that are going on here, I think what we've just heard in the last 10 minutes is that being able to flex and pivot and listen and collaborate with your workforce partners is key in any kind of building this up from the ground. And if areas don't have this in place, you know, the fact that we've got the Owensboro Community Technical College involved, that Gateway will be speaking to Ellery here shortly. They're all kind of creating their own thing that works for employers in their area, for the educational systems that are present in their area. And you really do, you have to get at the table and talk through these things to see what is going to work the best. But I think, Cindy, you all have given such a great example of just, you know, you start something and then you come back together, see how it's working, and then forge forward. So congratulations on a successful program. And Amy, thank you for what you're doing. I can only imagine that you're helping other ladies that go through this. They probably feel more comfortable even working with you, having been through the program, than maybe approaching some of the educators at the time. So thank you for all that you're doing.
I'm enjoying it.
Very good, very good. Well, next we will hear from Ellery Kring. She is a FAME graduate out of Northern Kentucky and an employee at Bosch. And Ellery, if you're able to hear me, maybe just a little bit about the FAME courses and the time period that you went through, and then certainly what your experience has been at Bosch and how that's working.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I graduated from the Northern Kentucky FAME program. I was a 2018 graduate. So I started it in 2016. In Northern Kentucky, I was actually part of the second cohort. So we only had one previous to us. So there was a lot of things to still be worked out with the program. It was all of the same things we're talking about now. I was already working at Bosch when I heard about the program. And I really just heard about it word of mouth.
Ellery, I think we lost you.
That I was in. It was really intriguing for me to get a paid for degree, first and foremost, because right out of high school, I did go to university on Pell Grants and stuff without getting deep into my personal stuff. But I moved out in high school and stuff and had bills to pay and needed to work. And it wasn't really working well with juggling that with school. And I was working 50, 60 hours a week in school. It really wasn't my priority at that point. And eventually just kind of dropped out of school because it wasn't working for me in my daily life. And so when I heard about the program that they pay for my degree, I still get my 40 hours of work, and that is incorporated into the school time. It was a no-brainer for me to take such an opportunity. I really liked working in manufacturing at the time. I had already been working in manufacturing. And I just didn't know, I didn't have an opportunity to bring me something further. And the Northern Kentucky FAME program was presented to me. And I went for that, and it was really great. It was 2 years. I really appreciated that it was an actual degree program as opposed to just a certification program, which we see a lot of employers offer. And we did actually get various certificates in the meantime, but ultimately got our associate's degree. And with the experience in Bosch specifically, I'm not sure how all the other companies organize the way that they do it, but we did it to where we got to rotate into different departments. Even though it's an industrial maintenance program, they really focused on the soft skills and not only giving us technical classes, but making sure that we take the communication classes and math classes, different things like that. A lot of different, even just leadership classes, just to make sure we're not only technical and can progress within the company. So, and that really helped me a lot, and something I was really interested in. Joining the program, I didn't know if I wanted to be in maintenance. I just knew I was capable of more and wanted more, and I found this opportunity, and I thought, let's see what it will provide for me. So it was really cool with Bosch to be able, I rotated into quality departments, logistics, maintenance, into IT departments, and probably a few others that I can't remember anymore. But it really gave us the on-site training along with the theory from school. And of course, it's a technical school, so we did get to work on machinery and things. In my particular job, some of the machinery didn't really, we don't use certain things in my job that we were using at school, but it is always a skill that I have in my back pocket now. So the classes, I can't speak really highly enough on the classes and the instructors that we had, that were also very great mentors to me. And I'm sure the rest of my peers that were going through it with me. But as far as since then, since graduating, my last shadow rotation was in a production IT department, in industrial IT. So I got to work more with like the servers and PCs and more on the software side of things. And I really had an app to it. It was the first, you know, in maintenance, I like the maintenance rotation. But I couldn't see me loving that forever. And I got in this rotation. I really enjoyed it. And when I graduated, they opened up a position for me. And I had been working in that ever since graduating. And actually a couple months ago, I received a promotion and I actually switched divisions in Bosch. And I recently moved now to South Carolina at a plant that's here, doing a lot of the similar work. My position is I'm an MES application engineer, so I digitalize shop floors, really focus on Industry 4.0, the elimination of paper and how we can get our data quicker and give our engineers systems that will do analytics for them, things like that, as well as just build up production lines on the server infrastructure side. So I was doing similar things back in Florence in Kentucky when in the position, and this one's more grand scale. I do it now for plants all over North America. And I sit on the chapter board, the Northern Kentucky FAME chapter. I still stay highly involved with the FAME group. I'm very, very passionate about the opportunity it gives. I really had no idea what I was going to do with my life, but, you know, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up at the time. And yeah, I was in a position where I really needed opportunities. I didn't really have the means and the money and things like that. And yeah, FAME really gave me that opportunity, and it really, really paved my career path. I mean, I tell everyone that I can't speak highly enough on what such an opportunity does for someone. And I will say, as far as the women in manufacturing part of it, I have definitely faced my adversities being a woman in manufacturing from the start, well before the program, and just coming in and being a really great operator when I first came in. And there was some judgment or some like, oh, wow, I can't believe she can do these things. And I'm sure a lot of us here know that type of experience. And for me, Bosch itself was very open and supportive of me being a woman in manufacturing, but it also, that doesn't always translate to the plant floor, not person to person. So I definitely had to break down some walls and stay tough about those things. And I love staying as a part of the FAME program. I still go with them to talk to high schoolers. I work with the robotics programs, and I'm very, very keen on preaching to women that manufacturing in general is not what people think anymore. It's not always, some places, but it's not always just dirty, grudgy. It's not just men's work. And I really like to portray that to other people and let them know that manufacturing has really progressed in many ways, in its physicalness and in its socialness. So yeah, I don't know what more I can say. I'm very, very passionate about the program. I give so much credit to it, to where I am today, both professionally and personally. I've gotten to travel so much with work, and I've gained a lot of experiences through it. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say, but it's been a really great experience through it.
Well, Ellery, check the chats once we're done, even with questions, but you are getting some amazing feedback, and just kudos to you for tearing down some of those silos along the way for other women to follow in your footsteps. And for those of you who may not be as familiar, again, with Owensboro's way of doing things or Northern Kentucky's way of utilizing the FAME program, there are different classes with different timeframes involved and different hours of the week. And like Ellery mentioned, and even like Amy mentioned, they're set up to work with individuals' schedules. So, and being flexible again is key here, making sure that you're getting with those employers in your backyards. It is critical to making this all work. But kudos again, Ellery. Thank you so much for your participation. Congratulations on all the promotions and even being in South Carolina. Hope you didn't get hit by that hurricane last week, but
It was real close, a lot of storms, but nothing too serious, so.
well, glad you could make it with us today. And again, anybody have any questions for Ellery or Amy at this point?
Yeah, please, any questions are more than welcome. And again, I know this isn't just FAME specific, but anytime I can help with your guys' mission, anything you guys can do, feel free to reach out. I'm really always excited to help with these type of things.
We appreciate
Ellery,
that.
This is Naomi Sutton. I'm a workforce development consultant with Kentucky, the state. And kudos to you because this is great. Owensboro did great getting their story out, and you're doing great sharing it from Florence side. But how is it for you with that information in North Carolina? Are you able to be involved in any of the same stuff there? Do they have that type of stuff?
So they don't have the FAME program.
Yeah.
It's not the same. I would love to see it. The plant that I work in, so I really just reside in a specific Bosch plant, but I work for many of them. But the one that I reside at, they do have a lot of apprenticeship programs. I only started last month, so I'm still getting acclimated to everything going on now in my current place. But I do know that they have some apprenticeship programs that I'm really keen on learning about because I know they are like really highly respected in the area. And I think have really good turnouts to them. And even this is a bit of a bigger Bosch plant, but one entire building is almost completely dedicated to apprentices. So I think they take it very serious. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have too much information on it at the moment since I'm new there. But I am definitely working on finding out more about it. And yeah, if there's a way to bring FAME here as well. I know in the Northern Kentucky chapter, Bosch is a huge sponsor of it and a huge supporter and really backs it. So I would love to see it come around here. And the area that I'm in is very industrial. We have Boeing, we have Volkswagen, I think, and Volvo, and a lot of different manufacturers in this area. So I definitely think the opportunity is there to bring more.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all certainly up till now. If we have any other questions, you can put them in the chat or raise them as we continue. Actually, I also want to plug Caitlin Fugit at Gateway and also Alishir Barikanov with the Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services, who put me in touch with Caitlin. And again, it goes back to that collaboration. We don't know what we don't know until you start talking to other people. So Ellery, we are going to keep you on our list of folks to reach out to along the way. And Amy, you as well. Just again, so grateful for your participation. So moving towards one of those employers in our state that is continuing to grow, we've got some ladies here from Ford Manufacturing today. Monica Gray is their Culture and Diversity Manager, and Raven Wynn is a Press Room Area Manager. And I believe, Monica, you're going to give us some background on what you all have put into place for some of your opportunities there at Ford.
Well, hello, can you hear me? Okay, all right, thanks for having us. So I'm going to give you a little bit about my story. I just want to share my backstory with the group, if that's okay. Okay, it is. All right, again, my name is Monica Gray, and I am a regional culture manager for the manufacturing skill team at Ford Motor Company. And as I sit here speaking with you all today, it's hard to believe that I've been with the company for 27 years. So I started at Chicago's stamping plant. And when I first walked in as a production supervisor, that was going to be my role. All of the presses, the dies, the robots, the weld sparks, the fume, the people, the fork trucks. To say it was overwhelming, it was is an understatement. And not to mention, back then, it wasn't many folks who looked like me. So what I'm saying is, it was one woman that was working in the capacity as a production supervisor at that time. And then there was me. And oh, by the way, everybody that I was going to supervise was going to was basically like my parents' age, and even in some cases, my grandparents' age. So I really learned quickly, very quickly, that why they say people are our greatest assets. So from that point on, I was just a sponge, and I learned everything that I can learn from the hourly workforce. So I did that job. I did it with a smile, and hours were a bit of a challenge, especially in a manufacturing environment, but I love the work. I love the energy of the place, and building cars, or help to build a car at the end of the day for Ford Motor Company. Oh, what a privilege. So I was excited to be there in that role. So I'm going to just move the story right along. A few years later, I was in the quality department. Hey, come and work in a support organization. I'm like, okay, learn about the procedures and processes, and what is quality all about. So that was a very exciting time. But I'll say this, during that time, maybe 5 years had passed, I was married and I had a couple of children by that time. And I was finally tapped to for a promotional opportunity. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to be the boss. But oh, by the way, Monica, guess what? It's in Buffalo. So Buffalo. I'm like, oh my God, will I be able to move? What can I do? Who's going to help with the kids? And at that time, I had to pass on that opportunity. I did. So not that it was sad, maybe just a little bit disappointed. But I said, well, I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to work as hard as I can in the quality department. So I tell you, Debbie, I did every job: quality supervisor, quality engineer, Six Sigma black belt, master black belt, layout supervisor, plant rep. I mean, you name it, I did it. And finally, my time came. I was going to be an acting quality manager, just acting. I wasn't going to get the job, but my quality manager was going on special assignment. So I said, hey, I'm going to showcase my unique skills, talents, and to the group, and surely I'll get this chance, this opportunity to be quality manager. Well, it wasn't in the cards that time, Debbie. So what happened was an opportunity came up to be a production manager. And honestly, to the group, I wasn't going to take it. I wasn't even going to interview for the job, because by that time, I had another kid, by the way, and she snuck in on me. I have 3 kids, and it's 10 years into all of these jobs in the quality role, and I've been out of production for all this time. I'm like, golly, should I really interview? Well, that's where mentorship comes into play. So I had an opportunity to speak, to have a mentor, and to talk to him about what my next step should be. So I got the job as I applied, and I did get the job as a production manager. So I was very excited and happy to actually learn about being a leader in a different capacity. So that was an awesome opportunity at that time. So I did that for a little bit of time, engaged a team, created a psychologically safe working environment. People knew me as fair but firm. So I was like, oh, I love production. So I said, hey, I'm ready for the next step, because I was working in sub-assembly at the time. So I'm going to go over to the press room next. I'm going to rotate over here, and I'll be ready to be area manager. Well, you know what happened? Hey, Monica, we finally, you really, really want to be quality manager. So we want you to come back over here and do this. What? No, I want to be area manager. I want to stay in production. It wasn't in the cards at that time, Debbie. It wasn't in the cards. So the quality manager job, it was very, it was stressful. It was hectic, but I really liked the work. And then that being a quality manager, it afforded me the opportunity to be on the operating committee at the plant. So I was part of the plant's leadership team. So that made the role, a lot different, and a lot more had a lot more responsibility that came along with it. But I was definitely prepared for those 10 years that I spent previously in the quality department. So I'm just going to move the story along. So that was short-lived. So maybe about 9 months after that, the company created what we call culture managers, and that brings me full circle to where I am now. So now this was 27 years and a few other jobs in between, but for the sake of time, I'm going to keep it moving. So they said, hey, we want non-HR people. We want operations people that understand what the culture is like on the manufacturing floor to fill these roles. So currently, I'm a culture manager and I reside over maybe 6 manufacturing plants. So I am responsible for Buffalo Stamping Plant, Chicago Stamping Plant, Chicago Assembly Plant, Michigan Assembly Plant, Oakville Assembly Plant, and Dearborn Truck Plant. So I'm responsible for all of the culture initiatives for these manufacturing facilities. And this is just a unique opportunity to help change the culture inside of these buildings. I'm changing the hearts and the minds of folks, creating leaders. And then when we talk about bringing diversity into the workspace, with women, going and recruiting in different spaces and non-traditional spaces is a big part of that, right? And then learning and development, because a lot of times folks aren't just aware of what's, I'm going to say, whether it's unconscious bias, microaggressions, especially, I don't want to say against women, but things like that happen. Sometimes folks aren't aware, but having all these learning and development opportunities and bringing them into the facilities has been fantastic. So with that being said, I'm going to stop right there and ask anybody if they have any questions. I know I summed it up kind of quickly because I see that, we're running out of time, and I definitely want Raven. And before you bring on Raven, I just want to say she is fantastic. And she was one of the people that I got, well, I don't want to tell my age, but she's much younger, that I got to informally mentor over the years. And she has really risen through the ranks. And us having the employee resource groups has been really huge. And that's a part of my job, supporting employee resource groups, because sometimes you just need a place, a safe place where you can go, you can talk, you can share amongst folks who look like you. So Women in Manufacturing has been a gift to a lot of folks that work at the Ford Motor Company. And it's been a pleasure and a really, really good experience being here throughout my career. I mean, I grew up here, and I can't say enough positive things about Ford Motor Company and the culture change that we're on, that's underway as we speak. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, and I don't know if you were ever sharing the screen, but I'm going to turn it, it didn't show. I know Raven was going to show a picture of her and I. Did you see it? Did you have an opportunity to see it? No? She wanted to share. Okay. Okay, well, you can go ahead and start, Raven. Maybe we can.
1 second. All right, she's coming.
And Raven, let me know if you want to share. Did we lose her? We can't hear you, Miss Raven. I'm not sure. While we're working on Raven's, I just want to say, Monica, thank you so much. And goodness, mentorship from across state lines is alive and well, thankfully. And so grateful for all that you have done and all of the states that you have kind of, fostered and mentored and brought women up to where they need to be. And as Raven does join, I guess, your screen, we'll hear more about it. And Raven, let me know if you want me to show the slide that you sent me.
No, that's good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Yes, please show it. I had another slide. It showed, as Monica said, Monica was one of my mentors as I was coming up, I guess you say, through the ranks. But the slide that you're going to show it's just kind of a brief, I call it my little bio, kind of as I take you through my journey with Ford. So I came to Ford, actually I was recruited, I went to school at Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, and I received an electrical engineering degree there. So straight out of college, actually I did 2 summer internships while I was in college with Ford. And so they have what is called a Ford College Graduate Program. It's our FCG program. And it allows you to come into the company and rotate into different areas so you can kind of get a feel of what's your best fit. Part of that program also is you actually working on the physical line so you can understand what it's like to make a vehicle. So you spend a few months working alongside your fellow production workers, and you're putting that vehicle together. And I would definitely say I got the feel for it. And a lot of people don't get that experience, but I got to experience it. And it part of also, they don't let anyone else know that you are in the program. So you're coming in like you're a temporary worker. So you get the full experience of it. And I could say I enjoyed it. Once I kind of went through those rotations in the plant, I did safety. I got to be an IE, actually working on the line speed. What can a person do within that time? Are they actually fully working, or are we playing around, I guess you could say. But actually just coming off the line, it was good to be able to go and do that in those same jobs. Once I completed my FCG program, I became what is called a design and release engineer, and I worked in Dearborn, Michigan. And at that time, I was focused on our expedition and our navigator. And I was really working on the infotainment, the electrical systems within the vehicle, speaker roundabout, a lot of our GPS systems, work with a lot of our suppliers and implementing those systems into our vehicles and upgrading them. After that, I came back to Chicago, and I worked at Chicago Stamping, and I became a tooling analyst. And so what that is, if you will look over here you see me inside with, I guess you could say, a grinder in that picture. And what that is that's a die. I got to spend, let's just say, a few months at one of our die shops. We were building, at that time, we were working on the Taurus, which it was the upgraded Taurus, the fender. And so I was in there actually smoothing out the surfaces and doing that overhead grinding on our dies and getting a lot of experience outside of electrical. This was straight up putting me into what we call stamping, where we bring in the flat sheet metal, we form it, and we form it apart. So I spent a lot of time there because I was going to come back to the plant and become a tool and die supervisor. Now, let me just say this, like Monica talked about, when I came back, there was no woman that had ever had this position. So I was the first woman at our plant to actually have that job. And the thing about it was a lot of the men, it was all men, it was all man department, male department. And a lot of them were a lot older. So it was the whole approaching it a different way, knowing that I wasn't a know-it-all. I didn't know everything, but yet I had these group of men that I needed to learn from, but at the same time supervise, hold my ground, but at the same time learn. So it was definitely a value added assignment for me. And I stayed in that assignment for a few years so I could fully know what I was talking about and doing. So after I left the tooling analyst and tool and die supervisor, I came into dimensional control. And dimensional control is really about putting together the full vehicle. You're putting together the doors, you're putting together the hood. When you all see the vehicle, it fits very well. Well, that was part of my job at that time, making sure that our Z, X, Y axis all line up and you all get a finished vehicle and that it doesn't fall off as you're trying to drive it down the road. After that, I went into our launch manager role, and I call it loosely, this is as I call it, my climb. I was a manager, but I really wasn't a manager. I just got the title at the time. And so in that role though, what I learned is we were building our transit vehicle that you see now on the road. we were building those offsite, all of those lines. So I basically sat in design reviews where we built them from the bottom up, built them at a vendor shop, went through all of the engineering specs that we have to go through, make the vehicles there, then go through all of our requirements. It's a lot of requirements that we have to go through, and I don't even want to bore you. Break it down, then send it back to our plants, install it, put it back up, and then start to run the vehicle. So I was launch manager, got to run that. And then I got my real promotion. And as Monica was talking about, that quality manager role, which at the time it was one of those roles that you're like, do I really have to do it? You know, I remember when they first talked to me about it, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, because I knew that was going to be quite a challenge. But I'll say this, when I took that role over, after a year, we got most improved plant in North America. And by the time I left that role, we were the best stamping plant in North America. So I'm very proud of that. After I took my quality manager role, I went into production because we are a manufacturing production field type of environment. So got my feet wet, became a manager in production. And after just like, I think 2 years in production, I actually became what is now called the press room area manager. So I run the whole, our building is split up in two halves. We call high bay and low bay. And so I have the whole high bay team. I have about approximately 200 employees. And so it's something I'm very proud of. What Monica did mention though, also is that we are co-chairs for the Women in Manufacturing for the Chicago region. And that's something I'm very proud of, because now I sit on the other side of the table. We recruit, we're looking for people like us. We're looking for, you know, people who may not have had the chance before. We're looking at all aspects. You don't have to have that 4-year degree. You don't, you know, we also go out into the schools where we're talking to the different trade colleges, because you have to be very open for the workforce that we have. So it's good to sit in this seat now and be able to influence and to actually bring people in and actually give them a job that might have been overlooked in the past. So we're proud of that. And then we also go into the schools and we do workshops with the kids, because we did one workshop and we had some of the girls come up to us and we said, we didn't know that there were women engineers, and they're in a, I guess you could say, underrepresented community. And so it's just good for them to see that. And the teachers, you know, came up to us later and they were like, can you all come back, you know, continue to make this every year, you know, we have some schools where we do continuous programs, and somewhere where, you know, maybe it's once a year, depending on the workforce. So we are very happy to be coming in your neck of the woods, as we call it. We look forward to the many opportunities. And just wanted to give you just a little bit about my journey, and we look forward to bringing that journey to many others there.
Incredible. And thank you so much. And we're so glad you're in our neck of the woods for sure. But congratulations to you both. That's quite a journey, and just what a wonderful story to share. And again, it took collaboration. You all are paying it forward, going back into high schools. You know, one of the conversations that we're having, best practices here, is how soon is too soon to get in front of girls or boys, right? Middle school, elementary school, and start talking about these viable pathways. So I'm noticing some folks that are on this call today. We've got folks from our workforce development areas throughout the state. We've got, we had Dr. Thompson on from our Council of Post-Secondary Education earlier. So we've got a nice breadth and depth of our educators and our workforce folks on here. And I'm just wondering, with the 3 presentations that you've all heard, is there anything that you'd like to ask? I see Lindsay Trent on here, and she's one of our trucking employers that's out there. I know trucking logistics is certainly one of our sectors that is in high demand right now. Some final takeaways, I think, from any of the 3 speakers that you all would like to just kind of hit home and share. Well, I made a list of some of the things as you all were talking, because I'm a list girl. And before I do that, I also noticed that our chair of the KWIB is on, Kim Minke, and he also represents not only our Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board at the state level, but Toyota Manufacturing here in Kentucky as well. And while they could not join us today, Kim, is there anything that you would like to add about some of the things that you've heard? I don't know when you joined, but we've had some great conversations about just the collaboration among workforce partners and really digging in and making those pathways known.
Well, thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate the opportunity. Unfortunately, I did get on late. I had other obligations this morning. But the one thing that I did hear in the last presentation that really strikes home, that I am a very strong proponent of, is people actually getting the actual work experience all the way up through the organization and getting exposure to that. Because in order for you to operate as an engineer, I'm an engineer as well, I did the same thing. And being able to demonstrate the techniques and the activities for folks that are coming into the profession, or that you're trying to solve a problem and you can help them through that, is invaluable. And being able to speak from experience. So I want to give kudos, to Ford in that activity, because I think that is vital to having well-rounded folks, and to be able to represent is just unbelievable. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's very important.
Well, for those of you who did join late, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who did join late, I did take notes, and from the 3 presentations, some of the takeaways are: recruit in high schools, get active as employers, get into the high schools, get your local workforce boards into the high schools, and utilize. If you don't know what state resources there are, reach out to me. And if I don't know, I will get the answer for you. Host female summer internship programs. Again, you're opening up doors for folks that might be moving out when they're 18, right? And needing just some opportunities and ideas of what their next steps are. Host high school co-ops. Again, programs that are out there that otherwise people may not know exist. Build those strong women resource or affinity groups, making sure that you've got a mentorship program in place, and just that safe space that Monica mentioned, to be able to share some of the challenges. And then recruit. We are all in sales at the end of the day. We all need to be looking at the skills that people have and break down the resumes. I know we've talked about it, soft skills are very important, but break your resumes down to those skill-driven characteristics that people have and that you can utilize in your organizations. That's all I had for today. We do have a little bit of time left if anybody's got any questions or final thoughts. And again, a great appreciation to all of our speakers today. And I'm going to keep you all on the mailing list, so you'll keep hearing from the KWIB. Without any further ado, then we'll give you a couple minutes back from your hour, and certainly appreciate everybody's time today.
Debbie, thank you. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you all. Keep doing the good work.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Bye.